It was a hub of black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. The Eaton Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting. On Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominique DiPrima, Nee Cordelai Corte, James Farr, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate Day 100 since the wildfires flared up. And we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eaton Altadena Fire, 100 Days and Counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign-up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. The first 100 attendees will receive a complimentary air purifier. This is a community call to action, brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
First things first.
Things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule. 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not too unsettling. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. Happy Monday. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This show is called First Things First, and my first thing every day, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and getting it started. We got a lot to talk about. We got a big week ahead of us, whatever that means. Every week is a big week, and I'm so grateful that you are here. So the way we do the show on Mondays, hour 1, we look local. Hour 2, we go national, international, and beyond. And in the third hour, we do a deep dive with a hot topic or a person of interest, or in this case, both. And, of course, it's Monday, so we have Sahara Ali at the top of the second hour, bringing us Mindful Mondays. Get ourselves together for the week ahead with a little guided meditation, affirmation, and astrological conversation. All that is on today's agenda. As you know, those of you who are part of this KBLA delegation, you're invited in every hour at 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. That's where you can dial your way in to the conversation. Super excited today for a couple of reasons, aside from just being here, being above ground and having the beautiful opportunity to talk with folks that I love to talk with. We're going to talk in the third hour about code switching on another level with a man who's a former U.S. ambassador to Panama, the ultimate code switching, and go a little deeper on that conversation with John Feely. Should be quite a different one. And in this hour, talking with a professor who's worked in public, private, and non-profit sectors, has gone from education and economic justice to public health, environmental justice, child welfare, and juvenile justice. She is an Afro-Latino born and raised in South Los Angeles, and she's committed her life and career to developing leaders. LaMikia Castillo, good morning.
Good morning.
Maybe I
Thank you
should
for
have
having
said
me on the show.
I should have said a mama too, probably.
Yes.
Yeah,
Probably
that's
my most important role these days.
yeah. Well, because you got 3 little ones.
3 little people, that's right.
Yeah, I pray for you, my friend. I pray for you. I don't know if people understand what it's like to really be in charge of three little ones. But yeah, thank you for sharing your time this morning. A lot to cover locally, nationally, and internationally, and they're definitely intersecting today. The anti-Trump protests went from coast to coast. They've been going on worldwide too, but coast to coast, I always feel weird like repeating the numbers that are quoted in the mainstream media because I feel like they tend to diminish protests. We know 500,000 RSVP'd nationwide, and many more than that typically come out for a protest. Usually people don't RSVP to protest, so it has to be close to 1 million people. But of course, I'm thumbnailing that because that's not what the mainstream media is saying.
No, but I agree with you. I mean, I had the opportunity to attend the protest here in LA with my family, with my 3 little people. And there were easily tens of thousands of people that, from what I could see, that were present in downtown marching from Pershing Square to City Hall. So I can imagine that across the country, when you add all that up, it's absolutely more than 500,000 people that attended.
Yeah, okay. Well, now the New York Times is saying 600,000 had RSVP'd. And when you think about the fact that, I mean, I've seen aerial photos from New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, it has to be more than 1 million people that hit the streets this weekend. And we are not even 3 months into this administration.
Yeah, and I mean, the topic of the protest, even though they're calling them anti-Trump protests, it's really anti-fascism, right? Anti-authoritarianism, and all the practices that Trump and Elon Musk and Vance, frankly, are putting into practice. We chanted and had speakers that talked about everything from immigration to Black Lives Mattering to women's rights. I mean, just everything that's under attack under the current administration.
Yeah, it seems like there were really, in terms of the crowd, the variety of people from old to young, all different ethnic and racial groups, it seemed very, very diverse.
Yeah, I definitely felt that there was a lot of diversity in the crowd and a lot of alignment across the different folks who were there. Oftentimes, as a Black woman, as a Black mother who attends, many protests. I'm very involved with Black Lives Matter here in Los Angeles, and the protests that other folks host look a little bit different. But I did see a lot of diversity, and I did see that there were folks who were aligned with many causes, across the continuum. Lots of folks standing still in solidarity with Palestinians and demanding that the Trump administration stop funding a genocide that is continuing to happen. I think that is, falling away from the news a little bit, but that was definitely a rallying cry across the folks who were at the rally here in Los Angeles. And I mentioned that there was, diversity in terms of the types of issues that people were there for. I saw diversity not just in terms of race, but in terms of age. Lots of veterans were present at the march here in LA, and yeah, it was just I felt like it was a very inclusive space for the most part.
Yeah. It's I feel like it's just the beginning. Because this administration is completely writing it off and kind of diminishing, dismissing, and being defensive. They're not even catering to the parts of that coalition of people that were on the streets that Republicans traditionally would, like veterans or the seniors. The only thing they said is we're not going to cut Social Security and Medi-Cal, and Medicare, but they're saying it while they're cutting it. So I think that's makes it more problematic and less believable for people who are paying attention. So for me, it feels like the very beginning of something that's going to continue to balloon under this administration, as the president was playing golf, to be clear, as he was at Mar-a-Lago golfing. It's meanwhile, Wall Street is freaking out because the Dow is in a free fall, the Dow Jones. I mean, which I don't typically track because I don't own stocks, but as most Americans don't. Not saying you shouldn't, but I don't. And meanwhile, he's playing golf. Wall Street is freaking out because they've lost, I think, $1 trillion is what I read in the past couple weeks. The people are freaking out because the cost of eggs are still high, and the cost of fascism is even higher than that. You mentioned the Palestinian cause, falling somewhat off the mainstream media radar, but at the same time, students are being deported for having attended one demonstration. So to me, the fact that they're still protesting, and wearing their Palestinian kiffas, and they're, still standing with Palestine is extremely telling. They're like, okay, I might get deported, but I'm still going to do this. Are you kidding me? That all of these things lead me to believe this is just the beginning. When we continue this conversation, LaMikia Castillo, I want to get your thoughts on these cancellations of student visas. We're hearing dozens of international visas at the University of California system and Stanford alone. You're a professor. I imagine your fingers on the pulse with such as this. Want to get your thoughts. We'll unpack that when we continue on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Hey, this is Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and for over 20 years, Parkside Economic Development Corporation has served Leimert Park and surrounding communities, empowering tomorrow's leaders and changing lives. Parkside EDC has awarded over $400,000 in college scholarships while sharing economic principles of the Big Five of money with students and their families. Parkside EDC partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louis found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louis has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louis.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
After producing an award-winning climate justice campaign in 2024, KBLA Talk 1580 has gone all in on its 2025 Climate Justice plus Black Health Initiative. April is Minority Health Month, and Urban Family Focus in partnership with Providence Health Systems presents The Heart of the Matter. Providence doctors and health equity officers will participate in informative and life-changing conversations on hypertension, health equity, behavioral health, and community engagement. Don't miss these empowering conversations on Urban Family Focus every Saturday in April at 7 and Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sponsored by Providence, Southern California's largest and most comprehensive health care network. We've got a lot to talk about on KBLA Talk 1580. Download the KBLA 1580 app or log in to KBLA1580.com. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. On KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station,
and your favorite morning show host.
Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, EC Courtney's saying in the YouTube chat, Great Depression again. It really could be. And of course, there's a tweet that the president posted some time ago where it says, anytime the Dow drops 1,500, the president should be impeached immediately. Of course, according to his own standard, he should be impeached for a third time because it's dropped 1,500 and then dropped again. Almost the same again. LaMikia Castillo is my guest, my partner in politics this morning. And I mentioned these cancellations of international student visas. We don't even know how many it is. USC, for example, is saying they don't share numbers. But some chancellors are. UC San Diego said students had their visas canceled. No warning, just boom, you're out. No chance of appeal. UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC Davis, Irvine, and Stanford all saying they have seen students suddenly have their visas revoked, and they're not saying why. Marco Rubio made commentary about this, I guess, about a week ago, where he said he's canceling visas of what he's calling lunatics. Every chance he gets, he says more than 300 have been canceled. But these, they're saying a lot of these are not around Palestine. They could be around like a DUI or a parking ticket or any kind of thing.
It could be around nothing at all, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think it's ironic that Marco Rubio is calling anybody a lunatic, to be frankly honest.
Right.
But yeah, I think that the thing about international student visas that a lot of folks may not understand is that international students bring a lot of resources to universities here in the United States, because international students, when they come, they have to pay full tuition, plus they have to pay, how people pay out-of-state tuition if you go to a school in another state. And so I think that a lot of universities are going to be, if they're not already, freaking out about the amount of resources that are being lost that are, usually used to fund the schools. Now, I know that's not necessarily the perspective that everybody's interested in hearing, but I do think it's an important one to have. I think it's an important perspective because this guy's supposed to be the capitalist of capitalists, right? And
exactly. So from a capitalist perspective, you're undermining the profit center of these universities. Of course, that to me makes it very obvious that their goal is to bankrupt and ruin them, because educated people vote against fascist agendas.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going to lead to with that, Dominique, which is when we look at what you were saying about, what's happening with the economy and things are tanking with the Dow and so on and so forth. Trump as a capitalist and someone who is a billionaire and is working with Elon Musk, who is a billionaire, the fact that they are continuing to gut every single, what would bring economic prosperity to the education system and to folks out in the communities, it's just interesting. And I don't know that people are looking at that perspective. Also, in addition to being a professor, I studied abroad when I was a student at UC San Diego for my undergrad. So I know what it's like to have to get a student visa and the process that you go through and how you're vetted to get into the other country, right, to be able to go and study, and how you're seen as a value add to those universities, and that, students who are able to study abroad are able to see a broader perspective of the world and bring that back to the U.S. as well when we go. And so I feel like when these visas are being cut for students here that are coming to our country, that's going to have ripple effects and impacts for students from the U.S. who want to study abroad. And I don't know that folks are talking about that or seeing that as we have these conversations around the student visas being canceled.
When you say that, are you thinking that maybe our international students will have a harder time getting visas to study in other places? So. Yeah. I was hoping you didn't mean that, not just because I'm the mom of a student, but also because, I was hoping that other countries would say, well, that student, we can understand why they might not want to be in their country right now.
I mean, that would be great if that's how they saw, right? But when you compare this to what's happening with the tariff war that Trump has started with other countries, right? The reaction is, okay, fine. If you want to, tax us, and we'll tax you more. Or if you want to take away our students' visas, because we don't know, I don't know where these students are coming from with these visas that are being canceled, right? But those countries are looking at this and saying, wait a minute, this is an opportunity you're taking from our citizens, our students, and you're sending them back home at a time where they weren't expecting it. And so I just, the people are very retaliatory. That's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, you're right.
Especially with Trump in office, because that's how he operates.
Yeah, he is a vindictive, vengeful little person. And I guess people are reacting in kind. What the LA Times is reporting is that these students are from all over, and that in many cases the students were not notified, but the universities were the ones that found out that they were their visas were being canceled because they looked at the database and found, I guess it's SEVIS, a student database for the Department of Homeland Security, and found out that these people had their visas revoked. And a lot of these students apparently never went to a protest at all, just, going along, doing their thing. I can't imagine how scary it must be to be a young person in that situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just think about the lack of stability, right? One day you're in school, the next day you're finding out from the university itself that you have to leave. And I had also read that some of these students were deported after, like they left the country maybe to go home or something for spring break. I don't know. They come back in and then they're sent right back, sent back out the country.
Yeah, I've read that too. And the thing about it is that at least USC and a couple of other schools told students don't leave, don't go home for break, stay here. We don't know what's happening. And that, to me, it's sad that they have to put out that kind of a memo for students. It's just ridiculous. You can't do business here. That's crazy to me.
And Dominique, if you don't mind, I just wanted to add, so I'm grateful that universities were telling students, we don't know what's happening, stay here. But I also saw recently that there's a student who she was involved in Palestinian protests, which I don't think that gives the Trump administration or anybody the right to deport them anyway. But she, I think it was Department of Homeland Security showed up to her dorm on her college campus with a warrant, right? So the students who haven't left, I'm hoping and praying that the Trump administration is not immediately moving to go and shake them up, in their college dorms and then take them out the way that they tried to do this student. She happened to be in Canada at the time. She was I guess, aware that something might happen, even though she hadn't done anything wrong. She was talking to her attorneys about this. But I just imagine how, again, these students could be so afraid. And I really do hope, if I was still a student in these days, I would stand up and fight against this, right? I would hold a protest on campus. I hope students do this to support their international classmates, because these are students, again, that add a lot of value to the classroom and build relationships and connections around the world, and we need that. And so I hope that they see the value in standing up and supporting them.
Yeah, I don't see how that doesn't happen. With the students, what I worry about is the actual universities, because they all seem to be crumbling and folding. And what's interesting to me, LaMikia, right now is watching what's happening with Wall Street, because these guys have been kissing the ring, licking the boots of the president. All of these, tech titans, robber barons, and big Wall Street firms have either acquiesced because they think they're going to be profitable, or because they believe in that agenda, or both. And now they're all losing tons of money. And we're starting to see some resistance from the rich people because they're losing tons of money. But I don't see any movement on the part of the universities yet. And I'll be interested to see, how much destruction has to happen before they push back in any way. I know they don't want to get defunded like Columbia, like, Penn, but nevertheless, especially to your point about foreign students, you're losing your research grants, you're losing your foreign students. When are you going to stand up?
Right. Absolutely. The administration needs to stand up. Last time you and I spoke about this, why are they just going along to get along? I think that some of them are in complete agreement with the Trump administration, and they're able to use Trump's tactics as a cover, like, oh, well, we got to just fall in line, when that's actually not the case.
Yeah.
It's pretty disappointing.
Well, so what you're talking about is they're just doing what they wanted to do anyway. But I think what they wanted to do anyway is now wrecking financial havoc in a way that they did not foresee. Maybe they wanted to deport or punish student protesters. I doubt Columbia wanted to lose $400 million in research grants, or Penn $175 million. I doubt that Wall Street wanted to see these back-to-back stock market crashes and sell-offs. So their own agenda is coming back to bite them in the butt. We've got news, traffic, and sports right here. Then we'll continue the conversation. I'm Dominique DiPrima with LaMikia Castillo and you on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. FAMU lost a $16.3 million NIH grant crucial for its pharmacy school and research programs. The funding was intended for new faculty hires and research in areas like AI and cancer biology. The university is appealing the decision and seeking donations to support its initiative. Republican Winsome Earl Sears and Democrat Abigail Spanberger will compete in Virginia's governor race, the first to feature 2 women. Earl Sears could become the state's first black woman governor. A Louisiana jury ordered Chevron to pay $745 million to restore coastal damages after a lawsuit by Plaquemines Parish. Texaco, acquired by Chevron, violated state laws by not applying for coastal permits. And the Florida Gators and Houston Cougars will compete in the NCAA Men's Championship game. The game tips off today at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers rode into Oklahoma City and put a beat down on the team with the NBA's best record. The Lakers dominated OKC with a surprising 126-99 win. 30 points and 6 assists for Luka Doncic. LeBron had 19 points and 7 assists. The Lakers play OKC again Tuesday night. The Clippers are off until Wednesday Saturday. Their 4-game winning streak has them in a tie for 5th place in the Western Conference with Golden State, Memphis, and Minnesota. The Connecticut women's basketball team had to beat USC and UCLA in the NCAA tournament before winning the national championship on Sunday. It was still a marvelous season for the USC and UCLA programs. Both teams were in the top 5 most of the season and put LA on the map in women's college basketball. UCLA was ranked number 1 in the nation for 14 weeks. USC and UCLA finished the season with a combined 65-7 record. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
We've got a lot to talk about. Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And you're waking up with me and Professor LaMikia Castillo, also an activist and a mama. I'm here to help unpack some of the stuff going on. I guess it's supposed to get hot. Today's the last cold day of the week, supposedly. Might be seeing some record-breaking temperatures. It's been so weird. It's been so bipolar, this weather. So apparently we're going to see triple digits in the valley starting tomorrow. 90s over
hot.
Here. Yeah, hot. And some other weird stuff. This story I almost missed. These LA County deputies, they have a relay race that they do. It's called Baker to Vegas. And now these deputies, a bunch of deputies are boycotting this thing because they are standing in solidarity with the sheriff deputy who threw those senior citizens down at the Winco in Palmdale. That was Lancaster, not Palmdale. The guy's name is Trevor Kirk, the deputy. And these deputies at more than 20 different sheriff stations are protesting because this guy is being held accountable for basically manhandling these elders. Amazing to me. This is an amazing story to me because also the sheriff's response. Sheriff put out a real, kid glovesy memo. The department respects our personnel's right to opt out of participating in the upcoming Baker to Vegas Challenge Cup relay. He wishes everyone well. And then he says the department recognizes that having one of our employees convicted by a federal jury is a significant matter, and we understand the frustration it has caused among our personnel. Despite allegations to the contrary, this case was not referred to the FBI nor the U.S. Attorney's Office by anyone within the department, as indicated in our official court transcript. So basically, Luna is saying I guess, is it Luna? Because that's outside of LA County, right?
It is. Baker is outside of LA County.
So is that Bianco?
Really
yeah. Who is the sheriff out there?
I'm not sure, but I was really confused. I didn't understand what this relay had to do with what happened in Lancaster. But what was very clear to me is that the sheriffs, and just like LAPD and all of the police departments that we know across this country, don't want to be held accountable for the abuses that they impose, especially on Black folks. This was a senior couple, but they were also Black folks in Lancaster, which, were just at the grocery store being accused of stealing something, and we saw the abuse. I mean, if you haven't seen the video camera footage of this, which I think happened last year, it was pretty egregious. And the fact that they would say, well, we're going to boycott this relay. I'm not clear on what the relay has to do with what happened there, except that this is the sheriff trying to exert their power and say, if we're held accountable, then we're not going to support the community. And it's like, don't show up to the relay. But you know what? Y'all need to be held accountable. You need to be held accountable. You don't get to go around and just, body slamming seniors on the ground or putting your knee on somebody's neck. We can't do that. And I have concerns about what not just with the message that this sends, but also what this means in terms of what's happening at the federal level with the conversations around qualified immunity and Trump and his administration wanting to make sure that cops continue to have qualified immunity, because then it would make it even more difficult to be able to hold cops accountable when they do things like what we saw happen in Lancaster.
Yeah, well, I'm looking it up. Apparently, Sheriff Luna is over Lancaster.
Lancaster. Huh? Sorry, Lancaster is in LA County. It was Baker. The piece around Baker to Vegas is what I'm confused about.
I see. Yeah. So, but I guess it's LA County sheriffs that are protesting. So that means that statement comes from Luna. So basically what he's saying is, don't blame us. We're not trying to hold you accountable. We didn't report you to the feds. I mean, that's what that statement says. We understand why you're frustrated because someone was convicted, not we're standing behind accountability. We want our sheriffs to follow the law. That's not what the statement to the rank and file is here. The statement is, we didn't turn you all in. We understand you're frustrated, and good luck to whoever takes part in that race. To me, that is not a message of accountability at all.
Right. It's not. And that's why it's so concerning that, it's clear in this video footage that these sheriffs were using excessive force against this couple. And thankfully, nobody lost their lives in this case. But in terms of, the accountability for the sheriff's department, the sheriff for LA County is saying we don't want accountability at all. And I don't know. I just have concerns about the message that that's sending. And especially, again, looking at what's happening with qualified immunity at the national level and how there's this constant battle between, do we hold cops accountable or not? And we know for Black folks, we absolutely need the cops to be held accountable for the abuses that they impose in our community.
Right. And also because this case was brought under the Biden administration, number one. Number two, the fact that it's not just qualified immunity. I mean, the president has said he wants complete and total immunity for cops, that they should have no accountability whatsoever. And apparently, they're already appealing this to the current fascist DOJ. So, who knows what can happen? I mean, to me, this is what deputies always say. Oh, there's quoting one guy in this ABC 7 article, one deputy saying, now deputies are asking themselves, if I defend myself or the public, will I end up like Trevor facing federal charges and a 10-year prison sentence? But if you look at the tape, defending what against who? They're old people accused of shoplifting. Right. There's no way you could perceive that as a threat. How could that be a threat? I could beat those people up without a weapon.
It's true. It's true. And again, I think that anybody who hasn't been paying attention, you have to watch what's happening with these conversations and what's taking place at the federal and the local level around accountability for police, because this is what fascist governments do, right? The police are not on our side. We see what's happening with students who protested. These are elderly folks who were shopping and were abused in this way. All of us are under threat of this type of abuse just being exacerbated in the Trump administration. If we don't do something about it, if we don't say something and stand up and fight against it, it could be any one of us that ends up being in this situation. And there's zero accountability for the officers who are continuing to abuse our community members in this way, and especially our seniors.
Yeah. It's just a bad precedent, but to me, it's, noted. Got it, Luna. We see what you did there. The LA Dodgers are going to the White House. I don't know if that surprises anyone. They are the champions. They're going today. I wish they weren't, but they are. Even Mookie Betts, who, didn't go to the White House in 2019 when he won with the Boston Red Sox during the first Trump tour, he said he claims that he made it all about him in 2019. He says, I'm not the same person I was then. I don't know what that means. Does that mean now you're down with the fascist agenda, or you're just being down with the team? I don't understand what that means.
I don't understand either, but I think it's indicative of how people are just falling in line with whatever the Trump administration is demanding. I mean, in this case, the Trump administration, I don't know, maybe they are demanding that the Dodgers come to the White House just to show face and make Trump look like he's, beloved by these folks. But when I saw that statement, I thought, how many of our people are just falling in line because of fear, or because, it feels like, well, there's nothing else I can do. Here we are, he's the president. Or is it, again, like you said, we move in the direction of, I guess I do support the Trump administration, and I hope and pray that that's not what's happening here. Yeah. But I think about beyond just the Dodgers, and who else is just falling in line with what's going on with this administration.
Well, yeah, I mean, and when you talk about these baseball players, we're talking about very rich people. So, it seems like the wealthy fell in line first and fastest. Even those that were not on board with the first Trump administration. It is funny, though. It's a week before Jackie Robinson Day, which is April 15th for Major League Baseball, after the Trump administration took all of Jackie Robinson's stuff off of the military Department of Defense site and then put it back following protests, and the way they're going after any Black history, Black achievement, they'll call it DEI. It's interesting that the Dodgers will be there, kind of giving him cover as the stock market is crashing, and things have gone really south. With our prices, people are protesting all over this country and all over the world, and he'll be welcoming the Dodgers to the White House.
I'm curious to see what happens today with the Dodgers at the White House, if anybody uses it as an opportunity to have their own little protest in the space. I have no idea if that's going to happen, but I hope that somebody stands up and does or says something. I did read that supposedly all of the Dodgers were in line with this and said that they wanted to go to the White House. I was frankly surprised and disappointed to hear that, but who knows? We may see something like what happened with Kendrick Lamar's show at the Super Bowl, where somebody stands up and says, I'm here, but I'm not here for why you think I'm here, right? I'm using this as an opportunity to protest.
It's possible. You never know.
Gotta hold out hope.
I gotta keep hope alive. I mean, the Dodgers, like I said, they're mostly they're not mostly. They're all pretty wealthy, right? And most of them are white. I mean, not that means you're automatically not a conscious person. I'm not putting that on on white folks, but the team is, yeah. Anyway, we shall see. 800-920-1580 if you want to weigh in. Also, you have the opportunity to go to the YouTube chat at KBLA 1580. There's always quite a lively conversation happening in the comments, and you're invited in there as well. I'm Dominique DiPrima. LaMikia Castillo is with me. Oh, really interesting article you brought to my attention about these law firms. A whole bunch of law firms pushing back on this Trump administration agenda. We'll touch on that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
At Providence, health equity is the foundation of our community health initiatives, ensuring care reaches those who need it most. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. African Americans face a higher risk of life-threatening issues like hypertension, the number one cause of stroke. 55% of Black adults have high blood pressure. The good news is 80% of heart disease is preventable with healthy lifestyle changes and patient-centered care provided by the Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. From routine screenings to advanced procedures, Providence provides comprehensive care for the heart conditions that overly impact our community by ensuring patients receive treatments tailored to their needs. Let's stop the trend of being 30% more likely to die from heart-related problems. Take charge of your heart health with world-class cardiologists who deliver the compassionate care you deserve. Visit providence.org/SoCalHeart. That's providence.org/SoCalHeart to request an appointment.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, people are asking in the chat if Magic Johnson is going to the White House, and I have not been able to find anything. I've been searching it online, and I don't see anything. So I guess we'll find out today if he's going or not. I really hope not. I know Magic Johnson, really did a lot. He's done a lot over the years to try to keep Trump out of the White House. So it would be a big disappointment if he did do that. But we'll see. Can't figure it out. So you brought to my attention this conversation about with these executive orders, right? The Trump administration has been targeting law firms that either have lawyers that tried to hold him accountable when he was convicted of crimes, or they worked on investigating him. Law firms that he perceives as enemies have been the subject of these executive orders. They're basically shakedowns. One company agreed to give $40 million in pro bono legal work in order to get out from under this executive order. So basically he's threatening them. It's the Paul Weiss firm. $40 million in pro bono. A couple of other firms have also made those kind of deals. It's like, you leave us alone if we give free legal services to your causes and promise not to hire any DEI employees. What does this bring to mind for you?
Well, I mean, first, I've never seen anything like this. 500 law firms are signing a brief to challenge these executive orders that are targeting the legal community. That's their own, protest, like what we see in the streets. This is the law firms taking making their effort to try to protest what's happening with the administration. And again, it brings to mind for me, it's fascist. It's fascism. This is a dictator who goes in and says, you don't want to work with me, or you're going to go against me, then I'm going to shut you down. That is not American at all. That is not how a democracy works. This is not how, this is how someone goes in and undermines our three branches of government. This is his effort to kind of destabilize the judicial branch of government. And so it was really telling to me that law firms are signing onto this brief saying, we are not going to allow you to do this, or we're going to do what we can to try to prevent this. Because imagine, every time every time an attorney or a law firm says we're going to, go after the Trump administration for what they're doing, that he comes after them and says, you come after me, I'm coming after you, and I'm going to basically, eliminate you and your firm. What does that mean for us as individuals, in a society that rely on the judicial system, the only system that's supposed to be bringing us some kind of justice, even though I know it doesn't always, right? That is really scary. It's really scary to think about.
The fact that 500 of these big name, like powerhouse law firms get together around anything is pretty unusual. Like you said, I've never heard of it. They've signed on to a brief asking a judge to block the executive orders. And they're calling these executive orders a grave threat to our system of constitutional governance and the rule of law itself. It says any controversial representation challenging actions of the current administration or even causes it disfavors now brings with it the risk of devastating retaliation. Right, so by attacking the legal firms, they're attacking the backup that anybody has to oppose anything they do, or bring any kind of accountability to anyone inside that administration. So I think I'm just surprised because, you expect the ACLU, to be suing, not these big, Madison Avenue swanky law firms. And that, to your point, LaMikia, it shows just how dire the situation is that we're in. I spoke to one lawyer, not an activist, not a leftist, what we would call a centrist, big law firm lawyer. And he said exactly what you just said. He said, we are now in authoritarianism. We have now exited the Democratic Republic ramp and entered the authoritarian fascism ramp. And that saddened me because I think, man, when the centrists start saying that, it's bad.
No, it's really bad. I mean, think about this, right? I'm an organizer. I'm an organizer by birth, really, is what I say, right? But also by training. And I've been an organizer for many decades at this point in my life. And we know what it means to organize. How, we say when we fight, we win. And, it's like all of us have to come together. That's how we fight this system. Attorneys are doing that. Law firms are doing that. That's if people aren't paying attention, that's when oh my goodness, things have to be really, really bad when you have, like you said, these big power attorneys and major law firms, 500 of them so far have signed on to this brief. That is them organizing. Somebody said somewhere in one of these law firms, hey, we have to band together. They're organizing. And so, Dominique, I remember in our previous conversation you and I had, you said, I'm trying to be optimistic and keep hope alive and think that with everything that Trump is doing is going to backfire because people are going to mobilize. And you have to get together. We have to organize together in order to fight against this. And when you see law firms doing it, centrists doing it, I think that hopefully we're moving in the right direction with people saying, hey, we have to all band together because all of us are pretty much in a bad situation, more than a bad situation with Trump in office again. And we're only barely 3 months into this administration.
Yeah, well, but if you look at what was going on in cities all over this country, and it's happening worldwide, people are mobilizing. And think about this. We know there's probably more than 1 million that hit the streets this weekend in the U.S. alone. And that's with a much muted Latino presence because people are worried about getting deported. I mean, even people with visas and green cards, right? So if you look at the Latino presence in the protests around the first administration compared with this weekend, it was small. That doesn't mean they did not want to be there, though.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely clear. And you mentioned earlier about students still taking to the streets. I think that they are. But yeah, people are afraid, and it's incumbent upon those of us who have the wherewithal and the ability to get out in the streets. I told you I took my kids. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and today an 11-month-old.
Wow.
And my husband and we were out there, because I know that, as a Black woman and especially raising 3 Black boys in this country, my kids' lives are under threat on a daily basis. Our livelihood is under threat on a daily basis. But we have to stand up. We have to fight back, and I have to teach my kids how to be empowered to do that. And especially for those who cannot get out on these streets right now because their lives are threatened in major ways, especially with these deportations, people being sent back to countries and, being under threat of actually being killed. Some of them are here as asylum seekers and they're being accidentally deported and things like that. We have to get out and fight.
Yeah, what gives you courage, LaMikia? We only have a minute here, and you're still out there. Others are still out there. I think fear is the epidemic. Even more than Trump, fear is the epidemic that we've got to overcome.
Yeah, my answer is simple. My faith and my ancestors, that's what gives me courage every single day. I know that they did it, and I know that they're still here supporting, and so that's what brings me out in these streets.
Yeah, well, I think, whatever gives us courage is what we have to lean into right now, because being fearful is not going to get us anything that we want.
Agreed.
You want to share your socials or anything like that?
Yeah, I always forget my socials because I don't use them much. But if you just look up my name, LaMikia, LaMikia Castillo, Castillo, you'll find me somewhere. I have not very many people with that name.
LaMikia, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me, Dominique. Thank you, everybody, for listening and joining in.
Our Mindful Monday conversation is next. The phone lines are wide open. We've got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. FAMU lost a $16.3 million NIH grant crucial for its pharmacy school and research programs. The funding was intended for new faculty hires and research in areas like AI and cancer biology. The university is appealing the decision and seeking donations to support its initiative. Republican Winsome Earl Sears and Democrat Abigail Spanberger will compete in Virginia's governor race, the first to feature 2 women. Earl Sears could become the state's first Black woman governor. A Louisiana jury ordered Chevron to pay $745 million to restore coastal damages after a lawsuit by Plaquemines Parish. Texaco, acquired by Chevron, violated state laws by not applying for coastal permits. And the Florida Gators and Houston Cougars will compete in the NCAA Men's Championship game. The game tips off today at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the title? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers rode into Oklahoma City and put a beat down on the team with the NBA's best record. The Lakers dominated OKC with a surprising 126-99 win. 30 points and 6 assists for Luka Doncic. LeBron had 19 points and 7 assists. The Lakers play OKC again Tuesday night. The Clippers are off until Wednesday. Their 4-game winning streak has them in a tie for 5th place in the Western Conference with Golden State, Memphis, and Minnesota. The Connecticut women's basketball team had to beat USC and UCLA in the NCAA tournament before winning the national championship on Sunday. It was still a marvelous season for the USC and UCLA programs. Both teams were in the top 5 most of the season and put LA on the map in women's college basketball. UCLA was ranked number 1 in the nation for 14 weeks. USC and UCLA finished the season with a combined 65-7 record. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, this is Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and for over 20 years, Parkside Economic Development Corporation has served Leimert Park and surrounding communities, empowering tomorrow's leaders and changing lives. Parkside EDC has awarded over $400,000 in college scholarships while sharing economic principles of the Big Five of money with students and their families. Parkside EDC partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org.